Alrighty, I've got my audio on. Nobody else is late. I am ready to start and I am feeling especially salty. Thanks to Sora Rules 23 for giving me this subject. I didn't even know there was going to be a live action Dumbo movie. But before we get into the rant, how are you guys doing? You guys doing alright? Um Let's see, for this one I already picked the color scheme since it was given to me by the requester. Well, most of the color scheme anyway. Um, before we get into the rant, I'm gonna wait for you guys to get here. Uh, well, for more people to get here anyway. Um, Alrighty, we're getting started. I know this looks more like a tiger than a panther, but what can I say? It's requests. You take what you get. Um, so, oh, hey, Julian can do things. It's been a while since you've been on here, I think. How are you doing? You doing good? Um, so thanks to Sora Rules 23, I now have stuff to rant about. And he asked me what I thought about the upcoming Christopher Robin movie and the upcoming Dumbo movie. So, oh boy, do I have some opinions. Um, Now let me preface this with saying that I don't necessarily think they're going to be bad movies. At best, my reaction to the very limited story. Oh, hi, Time to Animate. How are you doing? Uh, my cat wants to be let in. I can't let her in though. She tries to eat the cursor. Um, which is not very good for drawing. So, let me preface this by saying I don't inherently think they're going to be bad movies. They might be very good movies. The Disney reboots I've seen so far suggest otherwise, but oh, hey, Sora Rules 23. Thank you for suggesting this, because oh boy, do I have opinions. um, so, even though I don't like Disney reboots, it's not that I don't think they could be good. I just think the way that they're done makes them not very good. Um, I would love to see a good Disney reboot, but Jungle Book missed the point both of the original Jungle Book and the point of the movie, the old Disney movie upon which it is ostensibly based. Um, Shere Khan had no motivation in it. Um, and while the kid's performance was fabulous, he is not the problem with the movie at all. Um, while the kid's performance was fabulous, the CGI wolves, they often crept into the uncanny valley for me. And all in all, I just thought it was kind of boring. Um, so the other, I actually, wait, that is the only Disney reboot I've bothered seeing. Anyway, but Maleficent sounded really boring to me. Mainly because I was looking for a movie um which portrays Maleficent as, well, the way she tends to be portrayed. Um what about the face? Um So I was looking forward to a movie that followed the mistress of all evil. Because it seemed like something that would be cheesy and fun. But then it ended up being basically the Alice in Wonderland reboots, and that was disappointing to me. Um, Visually, I think the Disney reboots that have come out so far are very bland. Uh, I think they have a very samey, Avatar-esque kind of visual style. Nothing's quite as saturated as it really ought to be to make it pop. Um, and just all in all, I don't much care for the photorealistic CGI. Um, and that's just my tastes. But so you can probably guess where I'm going with my opinions. Uh, I do not at all like the CGI that I've seen so far in the Christopher Robin trailers. I think it is actually really creepy looking. I get that they were trying to make Pooh and the rest of the characters look like the dolls they're based on, but here's the thing. They could have the way that they design them makes them look like century-old dolls, which I mean they are, but they don't have to be in the movie. Um I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you, by the way, if you did like the movies. I'm just saying I didn't. Um the live action Beauty and the Beast movie lacked a lot that the original had. The original had tension and build up, and the Beast had a character arc, and Gaston was more threatening because I think most of us know of a Gaston in our lives. Um, at least in the animated Gaston, and the whole point of Belle's poor provincial town is that they are kind of backwards. Fun fact, back then, women's literacy was not a point of contention for most people. There were several women's magazines already out at the same time. The original, or this version of Beauty and the Beast that the movie is based on, was a story in one of those women's magazines. So Belle being literate wouldn't have been a problem if she didn't live in a backwards kind of uh if she didn't live in a backwards town that is behind the times and out of the loop. Yes, thank you, Sora Rules 23. That is exactly my problem with Maleficent. It would be like, the Joker was secretly the good guy all along. He's just misunderstood. Um, and I mean, maybe some people would love to see a Joker who's the good guy all along and was just misunderstood. I'm not one of them. uh, but anyway, I had a point. Where was I going with the Beauty and the Beast reboot? Okay, so women's literacy was not a point of contention in that time. The only reason her town objects to her being literate is that they're so behind the times that, you know, they're kind of jerks. You know? um, we all make lame jokes. Lame jokes are the lifeblood of comedy. No one can tell me otherwise. Those are good songs. Like, I'm not saying they're not good songs. I'm just saying that I have a lot of problems with the way that the newer movie is structured. Um, it sacrifices historical accuracy to appease voices on the internet who know nothing about film and really should not be criticizing film. Well, I guess anyone can criticize film, it's just some criticisms are more valid than others. But it also misses out on a whole lot of the things that the original Beauty and the Beast did. Like, in the original Beauty and the Beast, Belle, in the beginning of the movie, was the only character who wore blue. That visually set her apart from the town. In the live-action movie, blue is everywhere. There's nothing special about Belle that marks her as different, except for the things that we're told about. Her inventing doesn't really go anywhere. And, it was nice meeting you too, Julian Can Do Things. But yeah, her inventing never really goes anywhere. It's just kind of there. It serves little to no purpose in the plot. And all in all, I feel like the original Be Our Guest had the novelty of it being hand-drawn animation. Like, yeah, the CGI looks good-ish, I guess, for what it was going for. Again, I don't much care for the style of CGI they used. But, the CGI looks good-ish, but it's not as visually impressive as the original Be Our Guest sequence. So, moving on to these new reboots that are coming out, I have like zero confidence that the Mulan one is going to turn out well. But you didn't ask about the Mulan one, you asked about Christopher Robin and Dumbo. So, let's get into Christopher Robin and Dumbo. I more or less disagree. CGI that looks good does not have to look realistic, and CGI that looks realistic, I find more often than not, does not look good. I am a huge fan of the animation that they chose for the Captain Underpants movie. Yeah, it's a dumb, childish movie, but it's dumb, childish books. It's called Captain Underpants, for crying out loud. What do you expect? Yeah, Pooh's voice is good. I don't have too many problems with the performances, but I do feel like visually and it feels weird to be so harsh on them for visuals, but this is Disney we're talking about. I can be harsh on them for visuals. Visually, nothing is impressive from them. I just... After James Cameron's Avatar, as nothing in plot as it was, there's just not much you can do with CGI to make it particularly impressive, and, well, that is kind of a shame. It's what it is. But the real thing that bothers me is by color grading their footage to be so gray and so desaturated, they completely miss the tone of what made Disney popular. If you were to color pick from any random frame of a classic Disney property, particularly the hand-drawn animation ones, yeah, it's like I don't even have a problem with CGI. It's the style they're using. This weird, desaturated, photorealistic. The thing that really bugs me about the Christopher Robin CGI is how much effort they put into the fuzz on the dolls and how very little effort they put into making them expressive. Which leads me into my main point about why I can't stand the Disney reboots. Animation, the way that the classic Disney did it, was done that way so that it would be expressive. Take one look at Dumbo, for example. It is so expressive. Dumbo doesn't even speak in the movie Dumbo. But you still know what he's feeling. The baby mind sequence is... it makes me cry every time. It's one of the very few sequences in cinema that will do that. And, speaking of, because animation is designed to be expressive, it hits harder. Because it's animated. Like, even though you know it's fake, it is designed, literally carefully crafted, to be so expressive you can't help relating to it. And that's not what I'm seeing from the newer Disney stuff. It's not expressive. Everything is very one note. So it doesn't have the emotional impact that it should. Which I feel really does it a disservice because it has moments in it that should really be strong emotional gut punches. And they're just not for some reason. Now, do I necessarily think that Christopher Robin and the live-action Dumbo are going to be bad? I have more hope for Dumbo than Christopher Robin. Just putting that out there. But I did notice that Tim Burton is directing it. Tim Burton's Dumbo is not a thing that I would have come up with if I were a studio executive. But I guess that's why I'm not a studio executive, because, I mean, clearly they never make mistakes and they're geniuses and it's all audience's fault when their movie tanks. But, giving it the benefit of the doubt, I still think it looks a lot like it was attempting to mimic the style of The Greatest Showman. Which, fair enough, The Greatest Showman is popular for a reason. That reason not being its historical accuracy, but who goes to movies for historical accuracy unless they're like a period drama? A period drama which is not a musical. Because, I mean, I don't think it can truly be historically accurate if it's a musical. Just because people don't actually burst into song. I feel like you have to suspend a little bit of disbelief, that is, if you've got a musical on your hands. So, I do feel it tries really hard to mimic The Greatest Showman. Which, if it were any studio other than Disney, well, if it were an indie studio, I wouldn't mind. But because it's Disney, I know they're just trying to cash in on a trend and a thing that is popular that they don't own. At least I don't think they own The Greatest Showman. I could be wrong. I have not looked up which studio published that. But visual style notwithstanding, I think it is most likely going to fall prey to some Burtonisms. One of them being, there is probably going to be a character that is too over the top to really take seriously and deliver the performance needed of its role. Of course PETA wants Burton to change the ending to Dumbo. PETA doesn't care about anything but their own publicity. But PETA is another rant for another day. If you want me to rant about PETA, I will compile a list of topics and I will make a poll on my Patreon, and you guys, I'll make it a free poll so that you don't have to have a Patreon account in order to vote. I think that's how that works anyway. But I will make a poll and you guys can pick which topics that you want me to rant about. I will pick the top 2. So first and second place. But PETA will be on my list of things to rant about. Because, yeah, I have a rant for them. But I saw the CGI Dumbo they have, and again, it suffers from the same lack of expressiveness that characterizes their live-action properties. I'm not looking forward to The Lion King unless they really, really, really bring it. Because their more realistic style, it doesn't look like anything to me. And it might just be the way that my eyes and my brain work together, because it all just kind of looks like a pile of mush to me. And that is one of the things that actually kept me from playing video games for a long time, is that it takes me forever to get used to a game's graphics enough to be able to tell the foreground from the background. If that makes any sense. I still can't play Monster Hunter because, again, it looks like mush to me. It doesn't actually look like anything, as far as I can tell. In order to get a good look at how the monsters look, I have to find transparent screenshots from the game and stock art and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know anyone who wanted to see Maleficent, Mistress of All Evil, was actually good the entire time. Maybe you are a person who wanted to see that, but no. I would have taken Kingdom Hearts Maleficent over Secretly Good the entire time Maleficent. Because at least Kingdom Hearts Maleficent tries. Actually, that would have been a better... I think that would have been a better movie for Maleficent if they had just done her part in the plot of Kingdom Hearts. Complete with the Kingdom Hearts actress. Nothing against Angelina Jolie. Love her as Tigress. See? There's an example of CGI that looks good. Kung Fu Panda is a fabulous animated franchise. It is completely animated. It has some textures that are more realistic than others. But ultimately, it keeps its aesthetic clean and readable, and it doesn't look like mush. For example, Tigress very clearly has fur. So does Poe. But you don't need to see each individual hair sticking out like nobody knows what conditioner is. Even though I don't think they would. They live in ancient China. I could be wrong, though. If the ancient Chinese had conditioner, please correct me. You freaking hate Maleficent, right? Not Kung Fu Panda. Or do you hate Kung Fu Panda? And if you do, why? I personally really like Kung Fu Panda. Not just because its visual style is refreshing in our age of mush, but of photorealistic mush that really, it looks like if I go outside and I take a stick and I poke at something rotting on the ground, that's what CGI tends to look like to me these days, especially when it attempts to be photorealistic. So that's why I love Kung Fu Panda's strong stylization and its anthropomorphism too is really, really quite unique. Most notably, tigresses and vipers' lack of humanoid breasts. I cannot stand. That's one thing that really irks me in animation is breasts on non-mammals and human-like breasts on anything other than humans. Yeah, Kung Fu Panda is amazing. Kung Fu Panda is a really good example of what good CGI can look like when it's stylized. There's been a lot of really good CGI work coming out of DreamWorks these days. It's refreshing. So Inside Out wasn't bad either. You can totally have CGI that is not, well, you can totally have CGI that is not ugly. And it can still be a good movie. Get on that, Disney. So, like, right off the bat, I hate the visual styles. I don't think they're gonna work. And, it's gonna, if I went and saw them, it would be distracting me the whole entire time. Just because it was designed to look realistic, but not charming or relatable or expressive. Which, what is even the point of animation once you get there? Like, I know the point of animation once you get there is to save money, but you could probably do better stuff with animatronics where Disney is right now. It would look more realistic. It would not save money, but Disney has so much money they could afford to spring for it, I'm sure. It would give your film a little more interest from a filmmaking standpoint. Okay, I'm gonna make it a little grayer. And I just think Disney could do better. In fact, I expect better because they're Disney. Oh, you're talking about Maleficent. Yeah. I know why they made her secretly the good guy all the time, but I mean, could you imagine Kingdom Hearts Maleficent the movie? That would have been cool. Although, admittedly, the audience is more niche for that. I will give it that. The audience for Kingdom Hearts Maleficent the movie is really, really niche. Or is it because Kingdom Hearts is one of the most wildly successful game franchises of all time? uh, At least I think it is. I could be wrong. I'll have to check the numbers on that. I will fix the eye color later. So yeah, we are 32 minutes and 59 seconds in. And I'm still ranting. Every single time I think about it, I just... Why? There is so much better that you can do with CGI. We have so much technology, and you choose to make your films look like they were shot through wet concrete. I cannot, like, as much as I stress that you shouldn't use, like, this in your digital art unless you're actually going for that, and as much as I love subtle color schemes, there is a difference between a subtle color scheme and oatmeal that has been out for a week and is growing various types of mold. If I can't tell whether I'm looking at a candelabra or a bronzed slice of cheese, I think there's something wrong. Yes, How to Train Your Dragon. There's another good idea. It's not the most photorealistic, but it's more realistic than Kung Fu Panda in terms of its visual style, and they still kept it just stylized enough not to be creepy. And it just works. Um, so I guess if they were going for something other than live action with their visual style, and I can't even call their stuff live action because it's not. It's mostly CG. What's the point of animation if you're just animating in photorealism the whole time? Um, Someone please explain that to me. Now I do know people who prefer live action because it's easier for them to get immersed into something where the faces are real. Because for whatever reason, maybe it's the line bubbling or the slightly trippy, kind of dreamy effects of animation, they just can't get into it because it's not real enough for them. And I get it. But to me, your choice of medium serves a purpose in whatever you're making. Um, there are lots of reasons to make something animated, but for the expense of making something live action, most of the time, you'd do better making it live action. Um, Let me... Sorry, I'm looking through the note to try and find a, to try and find eye colors. Because I don't really know what color their eyes are. Well, I drew the panther all wrong. Evidently, it's supposed to look like a short-haired cat, and I made it too fluffy. But it is whatever. I'm not redrawing the panther. I like this panther. He looks sleek and confident. But yes, thank you. To quote Sora Rules 23 or Dominic Wright in the chat, live action is meant for looking through a window. Animation is for going into another world. If you put ugly animation in live action, then it's not a window and it's not another world you want to go to. Um, Lady and the Tramp has literally no reason to be live action. It's meant to be animated. That's just how the story is. Um, Now don't get me wrong, I grew up on Air Bud and Homeward Bound. Those are both live action movies with some puppetry and trained animals and stuff. Um, uh, yes, what are? I'm sorry there's lag, I can't respond to stuff, please be specific. Um, Alright, so there is our background. And let's start making this look like space. Yeah, now, what if I were making Lady and the Tramp live action, I would cost the studio so much money, but hear me out. I would film it with real dogs. I would actually cut out all dialogue. Uh, I don't know that they are. I think it works either way. Just 'cause, you know, they're dogs. That's the whole aesthetic of why you would watch the story. Um, but like I said, if I were remaking Lady and the Tramp, I would shoot it with real dogs. I would not have there be any dialogue between the dogs, and I would probably make it a short film. Um, because it's the kind of movie that if you cut out the dialogue, yeah, it's a short film. And not just a movie that is shorter than 2 hours, which is the expected running time these days, but yeah, I would say the 101 Dalmatians is a good live action Disney film too, but what they did with 101 Dalmatians that they're not doing now is the Dalmatians are black and white. They're Dalmatians, duh. But everything else is colorful. It this is a film that doesn't look like it was shot through wet concrete. And Cruella de Vil, oh, Cruella de Vil in that movie is over the top enough to still be entertaining. Um, So, 101 Dalmatians is a good example of that one of a couple times when Disney actually did live action remakes right. So, like I said, I don't necessarily think that their remakes are doomed to be wrong, but I do think that there are a lot of creative decisions that they could. They're a big enough studio that I think they can take creative risks. I don't think one bad movie is going to tank them. Oh, that's cool. Cruella de Vil was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Nice. So let's blur this out some more. There we go. So it's vague tinting. And with this layer, I'm going to really take the opacity down, because I want it to be just kind of a hint. That's cool. Yeah, I think that's another thing. There are purposes for making a remake. Um, and I think they would do better to remake films that weren't that good, or films that could be taken in a new light. Which you could argue is what they did with Maleficent, but that wasn't really a new light that needed to be taken with Sleeping Beauty. A new light that could be taken would be exploring the themes of motherhood with the three fairies, with Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. You could explore the themes of new love with someone you just met, although Frozen kinda did that. Frozen attempted to do that. Um, Not that I disliked Frozen. When it came out, I loved it. It does have its flaws, and I could see that back then, but it got overplayed. Um, yeah, Glenn Close, she could do a really good over-the-top character. And I think, I don't know if she's retired, but I do think that film could benefit, or that, I kind of miss her over-the-top style. I would be happy to see another movie with Glenn Close, if she is both still alive and not retired. There we go. So now let's layer. Just throw in some stars. I've got my sparkle brushes. We're just gonna add faint stars deep in the background. I'm gonna make the particle size super small. Layer. Um, yeah, true. I'd rather people overpraise Frozen than Twilight or Transformers. And while there are criticisms of Frozen's visual style to be had, uh, namely that everyone kind of looks dough-faced, like DOUGH face. Um, but I don't, but they still managed to make it look visually appealing, which film is a visual medium. Here's a fact, here's an interesting take, or a take I found interesting anyway, on the Transformers movies. Did you guys know Michaela was the most well-written character in the first Transformers movie? I didn't either, because the camera was more important than the script. The camera conveyed more about her than the script. The camera got the audience's attention more. People just don't pay as much attention to the script, which is why you have to consider your storytelling and your visuals and your choices in directing when you're making something. Yeah, Michaela is the only character who self-actualizes. She knows a skill set, and at the end of the movie, she uses her skill set to save the day. She is the only one uh she is the only one who realizes her potential. Um Sam, yeah, he does that thing with the Allspark and saves the day. But Sam's character is not defined by his skills or his abilities or really anything that makes him him. He is mostly defined by what he has. First, he has the glasses, then he has the Allspark, or then he has Bumblebee, then he has um then he has the Allspark. So nothing about Sam Witwicky is nothing there is nothing about Sam Witwicky, the character, that makes him the only person who could fill his role in the plot. Michaela, on the other hand, has lots of reasons why she's the only one who can fill her place in the plot. Most of them have to do with her skills and what she's capable of. Um, and again, I highly recommend watching Lindsay Ellis's series The Whole Plate to learn more about this. But my point is, nobody realized Michaela was the best character in the movie because the camera didn't treat her like anything more than eye candy. Which, admittedly, I'm guilty of thinking she was just eye candy too. Not gonna lie, the camera fooled me. Um, yeah, Shia LaBeouf's character is really only there because luck. He has no reason to be there. You could replace him with anyone. Actually, I would love to see a remake of the Transformers movie where somehow Michaela is the one um, who has the glasses. Um, you know? Because maybe it's like the one family heirloom she has that didn't get pawned off because they were poor and her dad had to steal cars for a living. Um, I think that that could be an interesting movie. And then she still self-actualizes because her dad taught her how to steal cars. Again, for a living. They are poor. They don't really have the means to do much with their lives. You know, that could have been a good movie. Of course, it would be attacked by the largely dude bro fan base for being a little too into social justice. You know, because, oh my gosh, a female lead? We can't have that. But I still think Michaela would have been a better main character. Or at least a better viewpoint character. And if you look at Shia LaBeouf's character, you have to keep in mind he's what Bay thinks the audience is. That's why he's the viewpoint character. Um, which is really the only argument for why Michaela is not the viewpoint character. Is that most people think that the people who are watching Transformers the movie in theaters are not super beautiful girls who can steal cars for a living. I don't remember Frenzy getting defeated. I don't remember very much about the movies. That's another thing that Lindsay Ellis discusses in her Whole Plate series. Um, the films are shot in such a way that it's very, very hard to remember what happens in them because every shot of the movie is treated like it's the linchpin shot of the movie. There are no shots that just do their job. They do their job and they look flashy. Every single shot is made for the trailers, basically. And that makes it very, very hard for your brain to process and retain what happened. Which, again, goes back to my point about you have to put some very, very careful consideration into your visuals because that's what the audience is going to take away primarily from your work, is the visuals. And it sucks that nobody's going to remember your writing if the visuals don't do their job, but that's the way it is. Yeah, I have slightly higher hopes for Bumblebee. I might go see it, maybe, possibly. Let me hit Protect Alpha and throw in some other colors here. Just because I feel like this could use a little more pizzazz. Let me turn this normal. But yeah, I think the biggest weakness of the Disney reboots is their visual style. Yeah, there's writing where they completely misunderstand the original intent of the first movies. Yeah, I think they're unfocused. I think they lend too much credence to randos on the internet who don't know what they're talking about. I mean, obviously, me. I'm also a rando on the internet who has no idea what I'm talking about. So, but, you know, Disney doesn't have to lend any credence to me. I'm just sitting here spitting out my opinions. Ooh, overlay. No, let's try. Soft light, hard light. Um, no, I'm not going to do your request just yet. What I do, I mean, because we've only got 4 minutes left, but what I do is I number these according to how many there are, then I roll a dice or enter the number in a random number picker, and from there I'm sorry, it's random, but it's the easiest way for me to do this because I'm indecisive and bad at choosing. I'm just, don't mind me, just throwing in a little galaxy here. But I think Disney could make a lot of good stuff out of their reboots. They just go with safer, more conventional choices instead of what makes sense for the properties they're rebooting. Um, I can see that argument, but honestly, if you look at Sam, poor Sam, and the way that he behaves, the way he's always freaking out, how irrational and kind of a man-child he is, uh, it occurs to me that Michael Bay might have a low opinion of his audience. He might not have a low opinion of his audience and genuinely think that that's a good character, but I don't know. Um, where's my Sparkle brush. Brush space. Color. I know it's all about money, and I know that's why they go for the safest bets. But it's also why I don't like their films. So, I mean, not that it matters, because, I mean, obviously they're doing well enough without me buying anything, so why would they start catering to me? But, that's just... You guys asked what I thought. That's what I think. Um... And, so, like... I am kind of sorry that, I do feel like reboots could work. As I've said multiple times before. I just think that they're playing it too safe. Huh, this does not appear to be... Oh well. I'm just gonna go up, I'm going to nice this, and I'm gonna blob in spacey colors. So let me go all the way up to my hairbrush. Big as possible. I would make the argument that I think the Dark Knight understands... The Dark Knight kind of understands Batman, which is why it works. And it deconstructs what we tend to think of when we think of Batman. That's what makes it challenging. It examines his psychology and the whole idea of Batman. So it does something new. That said, everything else that tries to be the Dark Knight doesn't even understand the Dark Knight. That's why I think Lego Batman is actually a better Batman than a lot of the stuff that's been coming out of Hollywood. Or that's been... It's better than a lot of the other stuff that's been coming out of Hollywood. Because Lego Batman is also a really good Batman. And what it does right is where a lot of Batmans fail, and that is that they fail at having a good Bruce Wayne. So let me just blur this out. I know I'm over an hour in, but there is something to be said for understanding your source material, which again is something that I don't think the Disney reboots really do. Let me try lighten. Dodge. Ooh, that looks cool. Yeah, I'm going with that. For this, I'm going to edit the tone curve, so hold on with me, because I know I'm over time, but I still want to make this good. There we go. That looks kind of spacey. Then I'm gonna go up another layer, throw in stars. But yeah, I do feel kind of bad that my opinion on this can be boiled down to the Disney reboot. The Disney reboots are ugly, and I don't like them because they're ugly. But that's my opinion, so uh I wish I had a little more to offer, but I just don't. That said, I do think I feel like Dumbo. I don't think it's gonna be a good Dumbo reboot, but it might offer a heartwarming story with the humans in it, which is not why I would go to see a Dumbo reboot. But you know, whatever. Alrighty. So, thank you guys for tuning in. That's the stream for today, and here's hoping Disney learns how to make good reboots in the coming films.